Uh, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Dr. June Jeremiah, current CISO at MCS Security Solution, an industry leader in vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, based in Africa, Botswana. My topic for today will be human vulnerability management and assessment in the age of zero trust. Before I can proceed with my presentation for today, I would like to take this time to thank the audience for today, and as well to thank BSides conference organizers to give me the opportunity to present and share my knowledge to secure our cyberspace. Before we start my presentation, we'll look into the contents for today. Today we'll understand what is human vulnerability and what are the impact it have on the information security. We'll also look into how to address human vulnerability, and we'll look into the types of threats that are used by malicious hackers to target employees within organizations. We'll understand employee vulnerability assessment in depth, and we'll look into the defense and countermeasures that can be implemented to combat against social engineering attacks. Let us look into the first part, which is what is human vulnerability? We understand a vulnerability is any weakness that can be exploited by a malicious hacker to gain access to the system or to sensitive information. And also we understand human beings are the weakest link in cybersecurity chain. Therefore, human vulnerability entails all the weaknesses and the mistakes that humans impose while carrying data, while surfing the internet. So all these can be referred to as human vulnerability. We'll look into how dangerous are human mistakes for your cybersecurity. First of all, you need to understand that your employees within your organizations, you need to treat them like kids, because employees, they're just human beings, and as human beings, we are prone to do mistakes and to be careless or even ignorant with some of the things in our lives. We understand that the mistakes that employees do within the organization, they can cost you a lot of money. A lot of organizations are investing in cybersecurity, using different technology as defense mechanism to be able to combat rising cyber threats. However, malicious hackers are finding it easy to access most crucial assets within the networks by bypassing these through exploiting the human beings. Because human beings, we are less aware, we are less trained on cyber threats, and so on. Most of the companies are failing to implement a training program just on cybersecurity for the new recruitment or the new staffs within the organization. We can see that it costs about 3.5 million, which is an average total cost to remediate any data breach that was caused by a human error. And we'll see that about $133, it is the average per record cost of breach caused by human error. And it takes about 242 days for any IT manager to be able to identify if there's data breach or to resolve that data breach within the network. Therefore, mistakes are continuous, they're going to continue within the network. So it is always important for us to be aware, to be able to understand the threat that we are facing, to be able to understand how we can safeguard the information that we are handling to perform our daily tasks while we are within the corporate networks. So we'll look into the next part, which will be how to address human vulnerability within organizations. The answer to this will be, there is no really a best solution that you can implement in your network and you are completely protected. Therefore, that's why it is always necessary to have continuous programs, cybersecurity training programs, to ensure the staffs are empowered and are aware of any threats that is in the cyberspace. This could be a zero-day exploit. This could be any new attack vector that is being used by malicious hackers to gain access to the networks. And also, we need to understand that any solution that we'll implement within the organization, it needs to be holistic and balanced. Balance in, we are going to look into balance of these solutions between the people, the process, and the technology. So the best solution or the best way to address human vulnerability, it is to combine people, process, and technology together to come up with secure, strong defense mechanism to protect information within organizations. So it is necessary and it is a good practice for top management to always consider balancing people, process, and technology together. Most of the time, most of the companies, they are investing heavily on technology, buying artificial intelligence or machine language technologies to detect, to monitor cyber threats. These are very good mechanisms to protect the network. However, what of the people that are handling your data on regular basis to perform the daily tasks of the business operation? Are they aware of the threats? Are they equipped with enough skills? Are they able to, are they given the right authority, and are they using the right authentication measure to access data? And how is the physical security of the organization? So it is very crucial for us to be able to understand the PPT in terms of cybersecurity. We need to ensure that we don't only invest in technology, because technology does not use itself, it is empowered by human beings. We are the ones who use technology. So if we are not being able to use technology in the right way, we might expose sensitive data or even give malicious hackers access to the networks without our knowledge. So it's very important that organizations should start to consider implementation of PPT when they are thinking of any solution to implement to protect their data. So we'll look into the next part, that will be the types of threats that are targeting organization employees. We have a lot of attacks that are surfacing now and then. Some of them that are targeting employees. Most of them, they are taking advantage of the email application. Most of the businesses, they are communicating. They are using email as their basic medium for communication on business matters, or even to do their regular operation within the organization. Therefore, malicious hackers, they are taking advantage of these applications to manipulate users, to perform tasks that are malicious, to perform tasks that they are not intended to do, to be able to gain access to the systems, to harvest passwords, and to be able to compromise systems without the knowledge of the user. So we understand that we have malware programs. So malicious programs, these are softwares that can harm a computer. This could be Trojan, this could be ransomware, and many more other remote access control tools. We also have what we call phishing attacks, which are now becoming common in the pandemic. We have seen a lot of phishing attacks at rise because they are taking advantage of the pandemic itself. We also have password attacks, and we have the denial of service attacks, as well as man-in-the-middle attack, which is now surfacing mostly through email, which there is a new attack, is called business email compromise. which is one of the bad attacks that is causing a huge financial damage into different countries' economies, because attackers are using this method to convince people to perform transactions, to reveal sensitive information that they are not supposed to gain access to. So all these kind of attacks, they are targeting the employees. So the employees within the organization, they need to be trained to be able to identify such attacks so they can stop this attack before they act or do any action that can compromise the digital assets or digital infrastructure of the company or the organization. We also have drive-by downloads, we have mal harvesting, and we have rogue softwares as well. So all these are some of the attacks that we need to look into, and also our staffs, our employees need to be understanding all the types of attacks and how these attacks they might target them, and how these attacks they come into their email applications on regular basis, and how to stop them, and how to spot them, and how to report them to the IT managers. Because most of the time, the most issue is that most of the employees, they are getting bogus links on regular days in their email, but they are failing to report this kind of attacks to the management or the IT manager to be able to safeguard the organization infrastructure from these attacks in the future. So most of the people are failing to report. Most of the people are not empowered. They don't know what they are doing. Most of the people, they lack the knowledge. And most of the people, they are just being ignorant. As it is, we are human beings, and all these are some of the characters that we have. We tend to forget, we tend to make mistakes, which is normal. So we need to empower our staffs to be prepared, to be our first line of defense to protect our digital assets. So this can be done through employee vulnerability assessment, which is one of the best assessments to conduct in your organization to ensure that the workforce itself, is it prepared, is it cyber ready to take any cyber threats and protect the information, organization information. We understand employee vulnerability assessment will enable us to be able to analyze the human risk within the organization. We'll be able to empower the workforce, and we'll also be able to secure the business itself. So by analyzing the human risk with employee vulnerability assessment, most of these solutions, they are coming in a cloud service, whereby you are able to generate reports, to monitor the progress of your staffs, to be able to analyze who is at risk within your workforce, to understand who require more training, to understand who is more secure, who understand cybersecurity and the threats more within the organization. So all this, they come with employee vulnerability assessment, because by us performing employee vulnerability assessment, we are able to get insight into the security strength of the workforce itself through employee secure score reports or employee risk assessment, which combines a multitude of metrics to transform end users' security education into analytic engine. So we are going to use all the data that we can get from our workforce and be able to understand their pattern of behavior when it comes to how they are managing their how they are managing threats when they are coming into their emails, or how are they able to manage the data that they are handling, the data at hand. So all these are some of the benefits of performing employee vulnerability assessment within the network or within the staff members. We understand that by keeping to keep the business safe requires the help of knowledgeable employees. That means they need more than just annual training. Most of the organizations, they are only performing cybersecurity training once in a while. So cyber training should be done on weekly basis. To assess, it's an ongoing process, which we must be able to perform on regular basis to understand our security posture of the people who are handling the data within the organization, which is the employees. So we need to ensure that the employees on regular basis, they are monitored, they are examined, and you ensure they are empowered with the technology that you have to be able to understand the threats they are exposed to understand all what they are required to do, the policies they are supposed to follow, and so on. And all this will be generated in a report that is easy to understand for the top management and come up with remedied solutions on how to mitigate social engineering attacks. We can also look at the fact that EVA, which is Employee Vulnerability Assessment, it highlights the importance of dark web monitoring, simulated phishing, and also vital education to improve employee cybersecurity awareness. When we are talking of the dark web monitoring, dark web is the database that is holding a lot of information. Only about 4% is on the surface, such as Google, such as Yahoo, Bing, and so on. These are the information that is on surface to us as users. But when we look into the deep web itself, these are some of the index information that carries sensitive information, and also whereby most of the information that hackers or malicious attackers, they sell this information in dark web markets and so on. So it's necessary to have a tool or a solution that will be able to monitor or crawl through the dark web and understand and see what kind of information from my organization has been leaked, and what kind of information that is in the dark web regarding my employees. So all this kind of information, it can be used to be able to come up with new security measures to protect the information, because we'll understand that there's a data leakage and the information is being sold in the dark market or so. So we can also perform simulated phishing attacks, whereby we impersonate attackers and see and attack our employees to check where do they stand. Do they understand phishing attack? Can they spot phishing attack when it's coming into their inboxes? Can they stop it, or will they fall prey to such attacks? So those who fall prey, you understand you need to do more training for them. You need to empower them so that they can perform better and keep your digital assets safe. So it's very important for us to understand employees in general, they are not really the weakest link. In this cyberspace that we are living in of the Internet of Things, it is very difficult for any technology. We see big companies such as Apple, such as Google, such as Sony being compromised by malicious hackers, bypassing all the technology, bypassing all the security mechanisms that they are using from different technologies. All these kind of technologies, hackers are able to bypass them and compromise and take advantage of employees by manipulating them, by tricking them to reveal sensitive information. So we can understand that if hackers are now taking advantage of the employees, we can now change or transform our employees or our staffs to become our first line of defense, because they are the ones who are being targeted first by the malicious hackers. Hackers nowadays, they don't spend most of the time targeting organizations through trying to compromise patched vulnerabilities or misconfigurations in the network, because it's a lot of job, it's a lot of work for them. The more the technology is growing, the more it's becoming easier for malicious hackers to come up with new attack vectors that can easily trick users to reveal sensitive information. So we understand in this situation, simulated phishing attacks, they will come to help us in terms of understanding the threat landscape and also raising awareness to the users. So we have to make sure that our employees, they are our first line of defense, and we don't consider them as the weakest link in the cybersecurity. We can transform that and make a change so that employees will now be recognized as one of the first line of the defense. So this is very important for us to be able to secure our digital information. So we'll look into the next part. We can see that through employee vulnerability assessment, organizations are able to demonstrate how well the employees are complying with the procedures and the process. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the training, how to address human vulnerability. We need to balance between the process, between the people, between the technology. So if we do employee vulnerability assessment on a regular basis, we'll be able to identify and see, are the employees within my organization following the right procedures? Are the employees within my organizations following the right process to perform their daily tasks? We can also be able to validate current training methodology. Does the training methodology I'm giving my employees, is it empowering them to do better? Is it tiring to do? Is it easy to understand? Because what is important, it is to get the message, and the message, once it is processed well, it will be hard for an employee to perform mistake on a regular basis. So we need to improve training in such a way that it is performed maybe through cloud service, whereby it is automated ongoing training programs, which users can always track their progress, see their report, and be able to understand their security exposure, know where they stand when it comes to protecting the digital assets within the network. We can also be able to test incident detection. We can also be able to do reporting and respond, implement response mechanism within the organization. Because we already know where is the problem, it will be easy for us to come with the response mechanism. Does this employee need training? Does this employee need further training on cybersecurity? Or does this employee need to be, his email account or email address need to be changed also? Have he been compromised before? Have the information of this email address been leaked before in the dark web? So all this will be able to help us to protect our information more and more. We'll be able to do more and more of security for our information. We can also be able to provide valuable data that can be incorporated into ongoing security awareness program. So once we do EVA, organizations will be able to gather all the valuable information that can be used to perform ongoing training to improve the security of the organization. So cybersecurity vulnerability assessment, employees vulnerability assessment, it is very crucial because most of the companies, they are failing to invest in trainings programs, which is one of the cheapest measure to protect your digital infrastructure. But they are failing to invest in the cheaper space to protect their information. They invest heavily on high technological security defense mechanisms, which by most of the time, hackers normally find means to bypass them by compromising the employees. So we need to prepare our employees or our staffs in terms of be cyber ready, be cyber prepared, and also to practice good cyber hygiene. So we'll look into the next part, which will be the defense mechanism and countermeasures. But before I go into the defense countermeasures and into the defense and the countermeasures, let us look into one of the demonstration for one of the cyber threats, and we explain it in depth how employee vulnerability assessment will be performed, maybe through spear phishing simulated attack, to be able to help employees to understand the threats that they are exposed to. So let us just look into the demonstration itself. So I'll just quickly look into, log into my account here. Then we can proceed with the testing and the demonstration on phishing attacks and see how it works and see how we can be able to assist employees to understand this kind of threats and how to avoid them from occurring in the future. So let me just log into my account. Then we can do the demo. All right, okay, here I logged in. So here I'm going to use a simple tool in Kali Linux, which is SE Toolkit. It's a social engineering toolkit that we can use to create a fake website, create fake malicious PDF programs, and embed them with an exe file, executable file, so that once we send it to the user, we can be able to compromise that machine and gain access to the machine. Or we can use a bogus link that we can send to the user and force the user to be able to reveal sensitive information. So in this case, we'll just set up we'll do some of the setup. So we'll just choose number one, which will be our social engineering attack, and which form of attack that we are looking to. We want to do attack on creating a fake malicious web form that a user will have to log in and then reveal sensitive information. So we'll choose number two, which is website attack vector. And then here, what are we trying to do? We want to harvest the credentials, the logins, email, password, or so for a particular application. It could be a bank, it could be a social media network, website, or so on. So we'll select number three because we want to harvest the credentials. So it will say, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to have a web template or a site cloner? So we just want to clone a website. So let's just click here, and then here we just put the IP address of my server. So that will be 168.135.128. So this is where my backend control. Then we can enter the URL that we want to clone. So let's say right now we want to clone facebook.com. So we can just type www.facebook.com. So we just click enter. So it will already clone the website for us. So what will happen is, let's say now we entice the user to send him a message, a fake message that is appearing to be coming from Facebook. And we want the user to be able to give us access to the email, password, and we can gain access to their social media account. So what we are going to do is we are just going to go to our browser here, and we type here, let me log in here, test at mcscybersecurity.com. So I'm going to test here. What we are going to do, we are going to set up a simple spear phishing email attack, so that we can entice the user to reveal sensitive information to us. So let us just log in mcscybersecurity.com. log in. Let me just log into my test email. Once I logged in, then we'll just do the presentation of the fake login page and how we can be able to spot such attacks and how we can perform this in employee vulnerability assessment. So we are now logged in to our test message. So let's just go to the send, and here I'll just use a temp email, a temporary email, just to send email to send email as from Facebook, because we are trying to entice the user to feel that this email is legitimate and they can trust and believe, because those are the weaknesses that we have. We can easily trust when we are online. We can easily reveal information, and we can easily just believe that this email is trusted. Then we can be able to give access to the hacker. So in this situation, we have here what the email is already composed. So I'm going to send this email. Let's say, as you can see from the sent message where I'm highlighting, I have spoofed an email that look alike like Facebook, whereby the email is coming from billing@facebook.com. But if you look at it, I just omit the zero, then it's like facebook.com. So hackers will trick you with different means so that you believe and you trust, so that they can gain access to your information. So it's important for a user, if it's on implement vulnerability assessment program, they will be able to identify all this, like the email of the sender. They'll be able to identify if the link that they have sent to is bogus or not. So we can see that here we can just post the email we want to send. So we can just paste the email address, then I can just click send. So once I click send, yeah, it's sending. So once I click send, we can see that we'll receive the email here. So the email is coming from Facebook, and it's a receipt for Jeremiah June on the account so for payment of $14 for an ongoing advert that I posted on Facebook. So you can see that here we have something that attract the user, like see the full receipt. So if I click here, see the full receipt, you can see it has taken me to a Facebook login page. So I can just log in and say Jeremiah at 123 yeah.com. Then the password we can put 123456. Then we click login. So once we log in, we can see that we have been redirected to the original Facebook login page. So we have tricked the user. If it's someone who is not aware, they will be able to click and believe that that link is coming from. You are expecting such similar email from Facebook. On regular basis, you get those emails. Then all of a sudden, you get the same email. It's appearing, it's coming from Facebook. It has all the details, all the design, the templates, everything look the same like how you normally get your original emails from Facebook. So once you have logged in, you have not realized that actually you have given access of your Facebook account to the hacker. So we can see here, we have tried to harvest the username and password. So let's see if we have managed to harvest the username and the password. So you can see here where I'm highlighting, I've managed to get the password 123 and the email address as how I key it in the URL here. So the point that we are just doing this demonstration as a proof of point that the more you train your employees, the more they can be your defense in identifying high-tech attacks that are crafted by malicious hackers. Malicious hackers, remember, They are smart. All they are doing, they are trying to trick you to reveal that sensitive information. And we all know that malicious hackers are to be considered as a good hacker. You are supposed to be good with social engineering skills. So most of the hackers, they master social engineering skills because they know that is the easy way to be able to compromise the systems within the network. So with that said, this attack was a phishing attack. So we have crafted email that look exactly like it's from Facebook. We have enticed the user to receive the email. Even when you look at the email, it is saying it's coming from Facebook, billing.facebook.com. But if a user is not educated or a user is ignorant, they will not be able to identify that the spelling of the domain Facebook is not correct. Therefore, that means this email is not legitimate. So the more we train our staffs, the better we are able to protect the digital information. So it is important for us to be able to conduct employee vulnerability assessment. For instance, if we perform this as a phishing email targeting our employees, we will understand that one of the employees still is lagging to identify between the difference between a phishing email and a legitimate email, because the person might be falling for that attack several times. Then you know there's a room for improving that employee to make him better, to be one of the best defense mechanism you can have in the network. So our employees, our assets, they are supposed to be used to secure our digital infrastructure. So the more we perform the vulnerability assessment within the employees itself, the more we can be able to build a cyber defense around our network devices, around our corporate network, and so on. So we'll look into the last part of the slide, which will be the countermeasures to protect us against social engineered attacks. So we can see that if we have properly written security policies, it will be easy for us to monitor the employees. Are they able to comply with the regulations or the policies that you have set in the organization? So if you have clear policies, employees will be able to follow these policies at ease. And then we have simulated phishing attacks, whereby we can just do the attack like the one I demonstrated. Then we can be able to identify whom among the employees is falling prey to such attacks. So all this, it will be good for us to be able to improve our employee preparation in terms of cyber threats. And then we have advanced email security solutions. We understand that most of these attacks, they are coming through the email. So we should implement advanced email security solutions such that we can avoid advanced persistent threats that keep coming through the emails, bypassing the high-tech security mechanism that could be implemented within the network. And we can have weekly micro cybersecurity training programs to ensure that our staffs are prepared at all times. Because most of the time, different attacks are faced with different exploits. For example, the zero-day exploits. If employees are not aware of such, they will still fall prey to those attacks. So it's best you always engage them on what is happening around them, what is new in terms of the attacks that are now targeting organizations and so on. And we'll look into dark web data monitoring, crawling the dark web, and be able to see which information from my organization is leaked into the dark web markets and so on. And then we can have monthly newsletters on cybersecurity awareness, just to empower the workforce so that they are prepared and ready for any attack that can be targeting them. So it is very important we understand that we can test the weakness of our employees and improve it and transform the workforce to become our first line of the defense. With that said, I'll finish my presentation here. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. And this is my contact details. I would like to say thank you guys so much for attending. And thank you, BSide, for giving me the chance to present. And I hope all the information that I've shared, it should be able to help in improving the security of our cyberspace. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.